Good afternoon. Thank you very much for coming at short notice. The Secretary General has a short statement, and then he'll be able to take just 2 questions. Secretary General.
We have just held an extraordinary meeting of the NATO-Ukraine Commission, and the meeting was held at the request of Ukraine. And we condemn the sharp escalation of violence along the ceasefire line in eastern Ukraine by Russia-backed separatists. This comes at great human cost to civilians. We express our condolences to the Ukrainian people for these tragic losses. 30 civilians were killed and around 100 were injured in the attack launched on residential areas of Mariupol. The attack was launched from territory controlled by separatists backed by Russia. Such indiscriminate attacks are unjustified and unacceptable. The aggressive actions and provocative statements of the separatists are in direct contradiction with the Minsk agreements. Yet, despite its repeated commitments to work for a peaceful solution, Russia continues to provide them with support, training, equipment, and forces. In recent weeks, Russia has supplied hundreds of pieces of advanced equipment, including rocket systems, heavy artillery, tanks, armored vehicles, and electronic warfare systems. We call on Russia to stop its support for the separatists immediately, to stop destabilizing Ukraine, and to respect its international commitments. We urge all parties to continue all efforts without delay to achieve a peaceful solution in full conformity with the Minsk agreements. We reaffirm that an independent, sovereign, and stable Ukraine, firmly committed to democracy and the rule of law, is key to security in the Euro-Atlantic area. NATO continues its full support for Ukraine's sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity within its internationally recognized borders.
First question, Reuters, please.
Secretary General, can you tell us if NATO agreed to give any new aid to Ukraine at today's meeting, and is it time to respond positively to Ukraine's request for lethal aid from NATO? And secondly, could we get a response to President Putin saying that there is a NATO legion fighting alongside Ukrainian armed forces in Ukraine, please? Thanks.
As the statement that there is a NATO legion in Ukraine is nonsense. There is no NATO legion. The foreign forces in Ukraine are Russian. So I think that is in a way the problem, that there are Russian forces in Ukraine and Russia backs the separatists with equipment, and we have seen a substantial increase in the flow of equipment from Russia to the separatists in Ukraine. And we speak about heavy equipment and many different kinds of equipment. NATO is part of a broad international effort to support Ukraine, and we all agree that there is no military solution to the crisis in Ukraine. So we stand united in supporting all efforts to reach a negotiated peaceful solution based on the Minsk agreements. And what NATO does is that we provide both practical and political support for Ukraine. Just the meeting today in the NATO-Ukraine Commission is a strong sign of the strong political support from the NATO and all NATO allies to Ukraine. In addition, we provide practical support. We support Ukraine when it comes to defense reform, modernizing their armed forces. We have established trust funds, helping them with reforming their defense. And in addition, we have a trust fund also for providing medical aid for wounded soldiers. And tomorrow, NATO defense councillors from NATO allied countries will meet with General Koval here at the NATO headquarters. And he is the Deputy Secretary of Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council. And he briefed us at the council meeting today. And I think that just that he is here today together with a delegation from Ukraine underlines that we are now actually doing what I think is very important, and that is to help them with reforming their armed forces. In addition to that, of course, we support the economic sanctions imposed by the European Union, United States, and others. And I will later on today meet with High Representative Mogherini and then also discuss the very severe situation in Ukraine.
Second and last question, Radio Free Europe.
Richard Josvik, Radio Free Europe. You mentioned that you will meet Mrs. Mogherini. Will you discuss increased EU sanctions against Russia? And a second question, if I may, how do you interpret these attacks on Mariupol? Do you think that there is a willingness to create some sort of land bridge between the eastern controlled areas and annexed Crimea?
I will be careful in speculating what the purpose is, but what we see is that the Russian-backed separatists are violating the ceasefire and undermining and violating the Minsk agreements. And that's the reason why we call on Russia once again to respect the ceasefire, to use all their influence on the separatists to make them respect the ceasefire, and also that Russia stop backing and supporting the separatists. I will meet with Mogherini later on today. That's part of the regular meetings I have with her, and we're going to address a wide range of issues, and of course also including the situation in Ukraine. I think that the economic sanctions are important because they make it clear for Russia and Kremlin that violating international law, not living up to their international obligations, has a cost, and that is important. And then I will listen to Mogherini when it comes to discussions within the European Union related to the sanctions, but I will not comment anything more on that now.
Thank you very much
Thank
indeed.
you.
That's all we have time for.